Happy Thursday, everyone. Welcome to the Podium Esports Red Zone coverage of round 2 of the eNASCAR qualifying Road to Pro iRacing series. We're going to have feeds coming in from FTF and Podium Esports. So we look forward to that as these guys are getting through their intros and getting ready to go. Checking on some of the things that have been happening today. These guys are getting ready to go out there and got some social things to bring up here. Looks like Brian Blackford was having some issues earlier, but it looks like he's ready to go tonight. See Jonathan Dulani, he's ready to go. Good look at his ride. Trevor Perry, as always, he's ready to go. Really good looking car. I definitely have a soft spot for the 13 cars. Excellent. There you can see the map of where we're racing tonight, Mid-Ohio. Let's go full screen now on the podium's coverage right now and see what's going on over there with Kenneth Bueno and Rachel. Ryan Bauer on the call over there.
105.2. These guys are a little bit slower than that, but not by much. Our general times we're expecting to be sub 120, but how far down from that we're not quite sure. This place has a lot of difference in terms of acceleration changes. We're going to try and get a lap on board with one of these guys if someone's going for a hot one. We can talk you through in a moment and really take a look at this thing. I think the 14 might be setting up to run one at the moment. Let's see if he is. That's Berngarder. He might be going for one here. No, he's definitely not. He's sideways all over the house. But now these guys are getting some times. Oh, these are looking slower actually than I thought here, Kenneth. We're looking at 125s. Where did that come from?
Yeah, opening laps in the 125 range are fastest set by the number 1, Parker White, who, if you watched round 1 of the Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series, took 2 wins on the calendar. Of course, the most recent being the last one of round 1 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Well, if there's one word to describe this round 2 schedule in comparison to round 1, it is variety. There are way more options on the selection chart here. This time around, we talked about the intermediates and the short tracks, how pivotal those tracks were in round 1. But now, Rachel, we get to shake things up way more. We get to throw it off the charts. Mid-Ohio, of course, our first and only road course race to start this season. And then we head to Pocono, the Tricky Triangle, the big track over in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Then we head to big track in Michigan, IRP, a short track. That's going to be a very interesting one when the real life trucks series goes over there in real life, and when we take the sim trucks over there as well. Darlington, Bristol Dirt, then Texas to round out our schedule in late September to decide the top 20 that will enter into the Contender Series later this fall. So if there's one thing to say for certain, Rachel, is that if you were accustomed to sort of the rhythms that were made in round 1, you're going to have to change the entire game up and do something completely different if you want to make the top 20 here in round 2.
Oh, sure you are. There are no two tracks alike in this round of the Road to Pro. The first round, you had a lot of similarity there. It was really even, and we have 45 laps here tonight on this road course. Then we go to a tri-oval. We have IRP. We have Bristol Dirt. We have the 1.5 mile cookie cutter, and this one is Texas, which drives quite differently to a lot of them. So this is a really diverse round here for Road to Pro, and it's going to take what we found as the 70 fastest drivers and 70 best racers really here, and it's going to tell us who can really race a truck here, because these races will sort they'll sort the carters from the NASCAR drivers.
Well, it's certainly going to differentiate the skill level between the drivers. And one thing also to note is that the splits are going to be formed differently here. We'll have our odd split tonight here on Podium Esports. We'll have our even split over on ftf.gg if you can watch those guys over there to get both coverages. And you can also hop to Podium 2 to get the red zone style. But we are set to get you your starting grid and see exactly where every single driver will line up tonight from our first and only road course race of the season. Omar Diallo sets the fastest time at a 125.7. He will be the first to see the green flag out of turn 13. Parker White, two-time winner in round number 1. We'll see if he can get his first win and maybe do more here in round number 2. He starts outside of row 1. Agno Phillip in the 11 will start inside of row number 2. He'll be third with Andrew Navarro. We saw him take the win at
Go through the starting line, so we're going to be rolling some stats on the bottom of the page there that you'll be able to see. Just different stats from the drivers from the previous round of Road to Pro. As we said, this is the second round of the eNASCAR qualifying Road to Pro iRacing series. It's the best 70 guys that can make it. And oh yeah, something to note here: David Schillhouse withdrew his entry from the series. I see some news that he has coming up, so we'll see what that ends up being. But no David Schillhouse, fan favorite. But still plenty of really talented drivers in here as we go through the starting lineups. We'll head back full screen to the podium feed, but we'll try to figure out the technical issues we're having with the FTF feed, and encourage you guys to watch both feeds, pull them up, check out this. This is going to be a little more casual, but we've got full night of racing here, 45 laps at Mid-Ohio. So should be good.
As we hurry through these, it's a really short pace lap. Ethan Lake and Connor Horn. And behind them it is Joseph Galotta, Kyle Mayers, Matt Cocker, and Kyle Wynn. Going straight to you.
31 trucks on the grid. 21st on back, by the way, did not go for qualifying, so they're going to have to line up the rear of the field, but already quick enough. Pace car to the entrance of pit road, and a Chevrolet Toyota. Omar Diallo, Parker White bring us the green flag. We're underway in round 2 of the eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series as the field chases for turn 1.
You know, I think not qualifying might be a smart play by some of these guys, because this I can see getting pretty messy pretty soon. 2 big opportunities for future laps into the keyhole here, turn 1 and turn 4 into China Bend. These are the big braking zones. There's some critical passing opportunities here. Oh, 3 wide up the middle towards the rear field there. Someone diving on in here. This is definitely where we'll see some spice. I'm surprised they're all still on the racetrack. Yeah, even at this level, because this weather is pretty warm and the wind is high, 10 miles an hour from the west, coupled with a track temp of 115, air temp 85. This is not going to be a grippy track.
Definitely is, and of course those
tires
are going to get lit up. They're almost 3 wide.
Crowded.
Heading at a turn 4. That's around the top 5 on back. Christopher Pfeffer, Agnell Phillip, Brandon McKissick going at it. Actually, Kenny Brady, the third truck in there, the silver and blue Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. Kevin King back there in the 8th position, so side by side. They're one of the most unlikely parts of the track to go side by side, Rachel. Brady able to take that spot over McKissick. A hectic first couple of turns here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. But the good news here, everybody stays clean, no trucks off track. And we are still through all the way through the carousel to complete our first lap.
We are indeed. It's Diallo leading the way here from the one truck of White right behind him. Then you've got a small gap to Phillip and Navarro there in second and third. As it's been relatively clean here, and yeah, you can go through that S section side by side, but it's definitely a tricky one. But we look at the lap here as you've got these guys coming towards the front, and there's this big left under the kind of the bridge to start the lap here at Mid-Ohio, diving into the keyhole up here, known because of that little chute you see there, which could be added into the lap sometimes. You'll come through this chicane, which sets you up. You're going to have a big exit here, but this is what will take you down this long straight. And as we saw from that point, you got to make sure you're braking right for turn 4 because, well, Crowder unfortunately visited China. Bend, he went swimming in the sand. You stop here or you go for a trip.
I just want to chime in here. We are experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties with the FTS feed. But as you can see, we've got some social media rolling in about the series. Seth Eggert doing his live tweeting. Yeah, I'm just reading chat here. It's not the same speed, not the same stream. We've got a little bit of technical difficulties with the FTF stream that we're trying to get. As you can see, it's a little slow there on the bottom, but we're gonna work through it. Try to bring you at least you'll have the ticker here to see what's going on. Bring you some different views. Let you see some of the social media that's going on around the event. See our wonderful social team. We are live. All right, we'll head back to the podium while we diagnose what's going on with the FTF feed, and we'll stick on top split for now.
No way to do tires to kind of take the edge off a little bit, to kind of bed in, stiffen the truck up before they try and actually do anything with these things, because this is not a place you can screw up very easily. It will punish you.
And of course, open setups here on these trucks, much like round 1, and we'll have the same theme tailored throughout the Contender Series later this fall, and of course the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series when maybe these Road to Pro hopefuls get in there as well. We turn our attention back to the battle for the lead. Parker White still hunting behind the 10 of Omar Diallo. Of course, Diallo setting the fastest pace in qualifying, but it looks like Parker White has the pace to get around him. And if there's one thing, though, about this Mid-Ohio sports car course, it's very hard to pass. You have to pick and choose your moments here, especially in certain parts of the track where it gets very narrow and these trucks are very wide, so they take up almost half the racetrack, and you have to be very careful. Almost a bumper to the rear end there of Omar Diallo. You're right on board with the rear end of that Chevrolet Silverado. And going into this race, Rachel, Parker White said he wasn't really confident in his pace based on how Mid-Ohio's treated him in the past, but now that he's run some practice laps, now that he's dialed in the setup with his team over at North Force Racing, he says that he's definitely has a quick truck, and as long as he qualifies well, he is aimed to run well here. And right now in the opening 4 laps, it seems as though he is proving that this Toyota Tundra has a lot of pace behind it as he continues to hunt down on Diallo coming out of the keyhole.
Absolutely, that Toyota Tundra TRD Pro is absolutely sailing right now, as these guys are really kind of feeling out this lap here. I've got to say, it's not quite the race I expected. The time's down from what I thought I'd see, and I think that is largely the weather, and it does tell me these trucks are a little bit on the loose side. We've seen a lot of big groupings happening here, with our trucks really close together, which is splitting into some packs now, but we're seeing that kind of separation allow people to start looking at opportunities. And I'm still watching Bergeron. He's up to 18th right now, so he's moved up some, but he's not gone through yet. He's a 3 truck, so he's rated pretty well in this business. Qualified rather badly, it seems. Oh, a mistake from the 6. No, yeah, Eddie Kerner. So he's just gained 17th spot now as he moves himself up. Through the S is there. In that S section, we see some people go too wide through there, kind of. Because if you can stay too wide, there's a chance you get a hold. You might not. It'll take you a couple of corners to get the place, and you'll lose time doing it, but you can pass through it. It's just really narrow and definitely a brave move, but it can be done. And if you can do that, you can often make someone make a mistake and get through earlier. And I think mistakes will be our big passing tool tonight.
And what that means to me, translation, is that there's no margin for error. We just saw that with Eddie Kerner in the 6 and 18th. Made a mistake and almost made a huge one going into turn 1. He will bring in Christian Peterson in the 9 truck as he ride on board a little bit further ahead in this field. But Eddie Kerner, as they call him, Eddie Ball, he made that mistake against Drew Freenarge, and Alex Bergeron said, excuse me, I'll move my way through. So Bergeron up into 17th in that 3 truck, and he will try to chase against the 19, and basically the entirety of the company right up in front of him. This is on board right now, I believe just behind the number 7, that's AJ Stravato, and the 31 of Daniel Eberhardt III. Of course, Daniel Eberhardt, if you can recall, on Podium Esports, one of the Podium 500 winners from a while back, so good to see Eberhardt running here in the Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series. And remarkably so, Rachel, I think despite the fact that we may have gotten things wrong when it came down to qualifying times, the race pace has been very close. I don't see many drivers, at least outside of maybe a couple of tenths off of each other, so the field is very tight. We're seeing that in reflection based off the battle so far.
Yeah, I think the field being tight is more a reflection that not everyone can go at full speed here. I think it's tight because it's a traffic jam right now. These guys are still trying to find how to get a little bit faster in this thing. And you got to remember, compared to the Xfinity car that runs here in real life, which is a very stiff, kind of balanced car where you're just using momentum to basically get around corners, this is a bit loose in the back end, so it makes it interesting. And in my own personal racing history, I was a bit of a truck specialist, and my real specialism was the road tracks and these things. And they drive a lot like the Cup car in a way on the road courses in that they're very loose.
All right, we're going to go a little radio style here on the FTF broadcast. So we're going to pull up the split screen, show some social, and listen in on that and see if we can get some good audio at least so you can hear what's going on over there.
20 and 2021, where he made the Contender Series both years, but the first time around he was one of the youngest competitors in there and ran poorly throughout, did not have speed, I think might have been dead last in the points. Then last year he comes back with the renewed focus, comes back with a whole lot of speed, and was one of the top finishers in that series and easily made his way to the Coke Series for 2022. I think the same question is lingering over the whole of Logitech G Altus for this season, because last year they had a ton of drivers in the Contender Series and none of them had speed. I don't think any other drivers ended up making it into the Coke Series. So yes, there is some element of we need to qualify and we need to get to the Contender Series. But if I'm in that camp, my focus is on making sure that we make the jump in the Contender Series once we get there and we push. We know we've got speed to make it through to Contender, but what do you do once you're there with the best of the best in that 7-week stretch? That's the biggest question, I think, hanging over that entire organization, not just any one of their individual drivers.
And something pretty unique that I think we have here at FTF.GG that nobody else has is the fact that we've got somebody in our broadcast booth who commentates, watches the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series week in and week out when they're on, and then gets to come down here and watch the potential next drivers of the Coke Series go to work here in the qualifying series. It's got to be a completely different experience, and you bring a different angle sort of as to what to expect, especially as we get later on down the line. Both series at a road course this week, the Coke Series at Road America. Obviously, we're here at Mid-Ohio, but the schedules really start to line up after this week.
It's almost like they did that on purpose. I don't know. I hope there's a reasoning behind that, but nonetheless, all these guys are getting very similar experiences in these races, and you could see just in this race alone just how even these trucks are, at least at the front. We've been watching Casey Tucker, Tucker Minter, and Cozy up here, third, fourth, and fifth for the last like 2 laps now, and it seems like none of them have gained or lost anything. So it just shows you just how talented these guys are up through this whole entire field. And just goes to show with everyone running in this race how important track position is. And as you mentioned at the top of the broadcast, Jake, I'm very glad we have someone on pit road tonight and Justin Melillo to kind of keep track of these strategies, because it's going to be pivotal to nail the strategy to get you up front at the end of this one. Well,
and let's talk about pit stops for a moment, and we can bring Justin in if he has something for us. The track temperature, the floor is lava. The track temp started at 117 degrees. It's now down to a toasty 115 degrees. The humidity has gone down as the race has gone on. It's about 4 o'clock in sim right now. You've got 4 sets of tires in the pits. You're not going to use all 4 sets, but the fuel strategy is key here, because you can only make it about 27 to 30 laps on fuel, and it's a 45-lap race. So you're going to have to pit at least once, Justin.
Thank you, Jacob. So yeah, there are a couple of differing strategies that we can look at here for tonight's race, being that there are no cautions, being that these trucks do have some tire wear. We did see on Tuesday night that the tires actually seemed to get faster as they went on at Road America in the next-gen cars, but here the trucks already just about a second and a half off the pace. As Joey Brown is coming around, I expect him to be close to 2 seconds off of his fast lap, which was lap 2 at a 125.8. That lap, 127.3. So there are really 2 strategies on the table here, and I wonder how it's going to work out. One strategy would be to do halfway. This is a 45-lap race. Coming around lap 20 to 25, put on a fresh set of tires and go back out there and be done. That is, of course, if these guys can make it all the way to that lap on fuel. The other strategy would be to pit at 15 and at 30, split the race into thirds, try to get the most out of your tires. Some guys might want to stretch that fuel, some guys might not be able to. We'll just have to see how it all works out.
Great insight there from Justin.
Thank you, Justin, and I'm sure
FTF broadcast. So check back in on the podium broadcast. Looks like we got some battles here on the track that we're focusing on.
No, if I was running this race, Kenneth, I don't think I'd be trying to pass him at all. If I'm Parker White, I am not going to try and pass Diallo at all yet. Not at all. I'm going to run behind him. I'm going to use the draft off his truck, which, yes, has an impact on a road course. And I will run behind him. I will save a little fuel, which means I refuel for shorter time next when I go to the pits. And I will save my tires. I will run to his pace, even if I'm faster, and I will save my stuff, my tires and my fuel. I may go an extra lap when it comes to pit time. I may try and undercut him at the pits. But I'm going to want to try and make something happen around that time. Why? Well, the track is warmer. The track is more rubbered in. I generally have a better idea what the field's going to do. And I'm also more aware of how he's going to drive, where he's strong and where he's weak. This first stint, it's time to go to school. It's time to learn. It's time to work out what he's doing and where you can apply something. And I think the best opportunity might be in that pit cycle. It is the huge advantage with it being so difficult to pass on track. That, or by the time we get to that point, there will be lap traffic, which will definitely make passing much easier. So why risk it? Why do something early that could bend your truck and put you in a gravel trap? Wait till the second half, go then.
Oh, sorry there, Rachel. But I think in a way, it could be a game of self-awareness, right? You think you know where you're at, where you're saving tires, where you're doing better in certain corners, where you might be better than the competition, or if you're falling back, who's better than you where, and how you can position yourself in the right place before our first and what should be our only pit stop of the entire evening tonight over our 45-lap stretch. I've been watching second on back, and they're starting to cling closer together. I mentioned Andrew Navarro in the number 16 machine. He was slowly behind Diallo and Parker White. He's now falling off further, but he may end up in the clutches of some company. Agnell Phillip, Christopher Pfeffer, Kenny Brady, maybe even some guys behind that, Brandon McKissick and Kevin King. They may be in this battle. If Navarro makes a mistake, Christopher Pfeffer sort of in the middle of that, lining up the top five. Christopher Pfeffer, 26 years old, out of Goshen, Connecticut, and has certainly been a staple name in round number one, especially in the latter half of that round one campaign. You take a look on board, fighting the wheel there, entrance, braking zone onto the keyhole, and a good look at the exit, fighting the wheel, trying to swing the car sideways, and as he tries to close in on Agnell Phillip, of course, they're all with the goal of getting around Andrew Navarro for that last place into the top three. And of course, positioning yourself, Rachel, before that first pit stop is going to be oh so important, because with the track this long, with the fact that pit stops are probably going to be very slow, the pit delta is probably going to be in the negative somewhere compared to being out on track. You're going to want to be in a certain position at some point in time so that at least when you get out of pit road, let's say if you have a perfect pit stop, which you're anticipating you will, then you can come out in a favorable position, either in the same place that you entered in, or maybe a position gain, maybe a position loss, but you want to at least slow the bleeding or gain some if you want to, and that's going to be very important for these guys here, especially third on back, that they've been falling out of the battle between Diallo and White.
I don't think you have to worry about the pit delta because everyone has the same pit stop. This is a road course. Road course pit stops are slower than an oval pit stop. That's just how it goes. So everyone's got to do it. Just expect it. What happens on the in-lap and the out-lap, however, makes a big difference when it comes to a road course, because there's so much more time to be gained and lost in that. If you could tie up a perfect in-lap and they give it everything, you can get everything out of it, which is huge. Now, I did just remember something which I'm probably expecting Diallo is doing. He knows it's hard to pass here. So whilst Parker White might be going to school and riding behind him and just deliberately staying behind him, there's a good chance that Diallo is playing the Delta game. If I'm Diallo, that's exactly what I'm doing. I am keeping my gap to Parker White the same. Right now it's about 0.3 per second. I'm going to keep my gap to him 0.3 per second. I'm not going to run 100%. if I could keep that gap at 0.3 and run at 95%, I'm going to do it because, again, I save fuel and tyres. It's the smart way to lead a race on a track that's hard to pass.
So Parker kind of being a little bit careful right now as he almost gets into the back bumper. That's entering, I believe, turn number 6 on the racetrack through the S's section, and then they'll head up over to what they call Thunder Valley. This is exit turn 9 over to turn 10. A very interesting, fast part of the track. You go over that hill in turn 9. You go a little bit further more uphill on this left-hander that can kind of catch you off guard. A blind corner with the red and white stripes there all the way at the bottom end, and then entering downhill through the carousel, one of the slower parts of the track where you really have to keep your paces about you. And Parker, it seems as though he is trying to get around Diallo, but he just cannot find the place to pass. He's just kind of been hanging in there. We'll see if White attempts to pass anytime soon, but for the moment it has not come to fruition as they enter back to turn 1. So far, our biggest movers of the night, I think, are +6, and they have been relatively tied. I think it's between Christian Peterson and Michael Bumgarner. They are 18th and 19th on the track right now. Peterson on the tail end of the battle for around the top 15. He's hanging right behind Eddie Kerner. Eddie Ball in the number 6 machine. He's right on board with this number 23 for Logitech Gialta C Sports. And again, we've talked about the strength of Logitech Gialta C Sports. Most of them that we saw in round 1, those names I believe are in the other split, not here in this odd split in round number 2. Is a bump to the rear end. I think we may see a pass here sooner than later, Rachel. Kerner trying to play some defense. And now here
with this, we'll be back in just 30 seconds or as that takes a sledgehammer to his computer.
Ooh, this could get real spicy here if they're not careful, but they're going to be doing it, and oof, not quite where you want to be getting into too much of this action, but they're holding that side by side here, and you can do this. You can make this work, because both of them are a little bit squirrely. And I will tell you, I don't think there's a corner on Mid-Ohio, as the 9's going to have the advantage here, and will secure that spot again. It was a nice try by the 6, but it's not going to be enough. But I will tell you, there's not a corner on Mid-Ohio after lap 1 where you're not turning both left and right at the same corner.
Here from Mid-Ohio, not Road America.
And that was a textbook move. A lot of strength showing out of Christian Peterson. He is now, I believe, +7 on the board right now. Moved him up to P17 on the track. So that's 23. Rather, the 9 truck having a lot of pace so far here at Mid-Ohio. The only problem is track position really isn't his friend. He's going to have to continue to pick through the field if he wants some sort of an advantage, as we'll turn our attention back to the fight for P1, and they are still nose to tail, 1-2, and pulling away from Andrew Navarro.
Going into turn 2.
Look behind them.
It's
spicy.
I want to say Tucker Mitchell's getting really
Philip Pfeiffer, Brady, McKissick, these guys were just jumbling it up and running into the keyhole.
If you're going to make a pass here at Mid-Ohio, it is going to be in that small hairpin in turn number 2 to get it done. But right now, Jacob, it's very even between all 4 of these guys right here. Cozy, I mentioned he did put a little bit of distance on Casey Tucker, but that gap is maintained as here comes Minter to the inside, and he's going to take that 4th spot away from Casey Tucker. So Tucker Minter seeing a hole, went for it, and took the spot. Very nice move.
There we see we got a better feed there up of the FTF split. Thanks to Zach over there and those guys for working through that. Pit stop started. As the strategy starts to come into play, it's most likely, let's see, they're pitting on lap 15, 2 stops for some of the guys that have pitted. It's an interesting strategy here. I'd like to see if some of these guys maybe stretch it all the way, but let's hone in on the even split here with FTF for a little bit. We get caught up on that split. We haven't listened to those guys in a while, so let's we'll go full screen to those guys.
Go for it. We'll see who exactly, but someone's going to try that. Otherwise, like Justin Malillo talked about earlier in his pit report, you're probably waiting till somewhere in the lap 22, lap 23 ballpark to pit, which is still doable. It just depends on how much you're burning your tires and how much tire life you've been able to save or not save in this opening stretch of the race.
Pretty evenly spread out throughout, except for this battle for 5th with Tucker and Boyd Hogan. This is the battle on the racetrack right now, pretty much the only battle on the racetrack right now as they continue to make their way through.
I think we've seen every waking moment of this battle so far in this race. It's been the best racing by far on the track. And Pike is right, I think, with this, with Casey Tucker. I think the tires are starting to go a little earlier than he anticipated. I don't know if he went a little too hard in the beginning of the run to keep up with the Gialta's trucks, or I don't know, maybe just the setup is kind of like not how they wanted it to be. Maybe conditions are a little hotter than they thought. But right now, Tucker's tire is definitely starting to go away on that truck, and Boyd Hogan is right there to pounce. So all three of these guys, and I guess four if you want to count Cozy, all within very close lap times of each other. So going to be interesting to see how these guys are going to end up passing each other on the racetrack, but I think they're just way too evenly matched here at this early part.
Car, truck, even. The two getting alongside him. Little contact between those two. The two of Brady. Little bit of a rub there. But the truck of Navarro has been tight. As we've got an outside move here by Philip, who's going to try this, but watch Navarro wash up. He can't hold it down. He's going to go out the throttle. I think he knows that. I think he knows if he holds him tight, he can get the run. And the other will have the speed here to make that pass. That is homework. He saw he was getting tight and knew if he had to hold him down, there was either contact or he'd have to back out. Oh, but it's side by side here. If he outbreaks him, he's going to maybe let him have the corner. He's going to let him have the corner. He knows he can't compete side by side. He'd wash out and hit him. Force going to move squirrely, but Navarro is tight. That truck's tires have gone somewhere else, but they're not in Mid-Ohio.
And the tires are certainly not liking Navarro right now as he lets that pass happen for third. So Agnell Phillip, after multiple laps of putting some pressure and playing the waiting game, he finally makes that pass entering turn 4. A beautiful move as they were side by side from turn 2 all the way to that corner, and now make it even more so side by side further back through the field. This is Jonathan Delaney and Tyler Gary going at it. This is for just outside the top 10. P11 haven't talked too much about the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series spotter and crew member for Junior Motorsports, Jonathan Delaney, who someone entered late. I believe his first start came at Bristol and got the pole that time around as Gary will weave to the left. He is one of our first entrants into pit road. So is Christopher Pfeffer. So Rachel, our first two takers for service at lap 17.
Yeah, they're hitting pit road now. Pfeffer heads to his pit box, which is pretty close to front, of course. He did qualify 5th, and he's into that pit box here. Up on the jacks, he's definitely taking 4 tires, which is the only real quality road course. Gets that Toyota Tundra TRD Pro up. He's got the fuel in there, he's got the tires in there. He'll get out of here and he'll be a lot more comfortable, I think, on this track. But this is perhaps an early call by some of these front runners to maybe get some track position, because they are going to be running faster. So this early pit stop may benefit them in terms of space. What I have noticed is Diallo and White. Diallo has been going off the boil a little bit. White has still got the speed, he's been getting closer, but the gap behind him has actually gotten smaller. It used to be bigger. He's gotten a little bit closer, not by much, but it's starting to wind in. So everyone's pace is just dropping back slightly, and I think we'll see White make a move very soon.
And they may be before pit road. We'll see if they also take different calls as Agnell Phillip. He goes around our first official lap truck of the evening. That is the 21 of Brian Blackford, who had some PC issues before tonight's race, unfortunately, from Mid-Ohio, and had to use his brother-in-law's PC. That's where he's racing from tonight. But Blackford, not the greatest race so far, and he's E-Racer Chevrolet as he lets the field by. We continue to watch the battle for first and second, but they will stay out on the racetrack, and so will third place Phillips, so will fourth place Navarro, and so will practically everybody else. So I think there may be a question, Rachel, on maybe it was too early for the likes of Pfeffer and Tyler Gary to come in at lap 17, because I figure the rest of the field here, they're looking at least a one stop in the middle of the race and cut it 50-50.
The track is only going to get tighter as this race goes on. So with it heating up and rubbering up, it's going to get tighter, right? So if I'm suffering now, there is no way I'm...
Doesn't matter what kind of car it is, just the nature of that corner means that someone's going to try and outbrake you, someone's going to try and dive bomb you to the inside, somebody inevitably is going to make contact. But the question that we'll have to ask and answer is when and where within the running order and for what position.
Jordan Lopez Jr. closing in on your race leader. The gap's just 1.5 seconds between Joey Brown and himself. So he is starting to close in. He's been a 10th faster for the last 4 laps now. Starting to reel him in.
I've slowly been.
Andrew Navarro, your 2 leaders do not come in, but Phillip and company behind are taking their first pit stop just 1 lap after, or rather 2 laps after Pfeffer and Gary made their first stop.
Yeah, they have, and wasn't surprised at this point to see this, but 19's maybe a little earlier than I'd expect them to. They'll make it, but it's going to be rough towards the end of this thing, especially for Navarro, who was getting tight, I think, based on how the truck looked to be handling there. But he's going to get his Toyota Tundra TRD Pro back out of the racetrack here. Good stop by him, good stop by the guys around him, so we'll see how this one plays forwards, but Diallo and White still out there trucking around, but there's people pitted all around them. These guys might take it to the numbers, because I think their trucks are looking pretty good right now.
And the first time the entire night, Rachel, we're seeing a batch of trucks come in. Of course, that includes Alex Bergeron, Eddie Kerner, Drew Freenarge, Ethan Lane, Matt Cooker, a whole host of trucks coming out of pit road just now. They're entering the keyhole and going up the hill at that certain point in time. Here's another look. Our top 2 leaders continuing to stay nose to tail. I think Parker has let off just a little bit, not necessarily staying on that rear bumper officially of the 10, but he's still there for certain, and Diallo will still have to keep his wits about him. We'll see if they weave left toward pit road. Parker's going to fake, and he comes in for the first time tonight, so your leader will go an extra lap, but here comes Parker White in for tires and fuel.
That could make the difference, I think. That's a big difference that will make. If he can make this a great outlap, he can have this first place.
Also, McKissick, Kenny Brady, they're also following suit. We'll take note if anybody else also decides to come in. Looks like AJ Stravato to follow Jonathan Delaney. I believe maybe Garrison Hogan. Yes, Garrison Hogan in the 8 machine also in. And I believe Kylo Ren just missed his pit stall, so he's hitting reverse, and he's going to lose a lot of time on that end trying to get some 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles and some fuel. This is, of course, 25 laps to go here for Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, so a lot of these guys trying to cut it through the middle, but it is relatively early. I think earlier than we expected for sure here tonight, as Omar Diallo, we take a look at him coming out.
All might be Christopher Hill, because he's starting to back up a little bit into DeMerchant and Smallwood, just a little bit further back in this group. That pack of 5 that we talked about from about 8th or 9th on to 12th, they're a little bit closer now than they had been as we go back up the racetrack and look at some more battles here as Jordy Lopez is starting to reel in Joey Brown, and he's bringing Michael Cozy Jr. with him.
Yeah, the gap's only a second for the lead and closing fast. In fact, your race leader's on pit road. So Joey Brown bites the bullet. He comes in. Here comes Boyd Hogan. Here comes Casey Tucker. Pit stops for the leaders, Justin.
They're coming in. They're going to be taking 4 tires and filling it up. And this is right on the money. I was looking at lap times, and the cliff is pretty early. So these guys are going to be able to get, like, the most out of these tires while the other guys are out on the older tires. And then they'll fall off and then be pretty consistently in the 128 range. So this is probably a really good call for these guys that are pitting early. They're the first to pit. They're not going to have to worry about any cautions that are going to be coming out. And they're already back on track. Joey Brown is, at least.
How about this side by side between Minter and Cozy? And it looks like he's going to cede that position to his teammate. Almost looked like Cozy kind of pulled over and let him go by. So move Tucker Minter into provisional second place right now. They still have to pit as they're making their way through the S's.
Now the pressure is on Jordy Lopez here, Pike. I mean, we saw the leader go in early. Now he has to have a perfect pit entry if he doesn't want to lose too much time. But we've seen the in laps so important when the green flag pit stops come around.
Well, my question is, do we think Joey Brown went in too early? I don't necessarily think that it was a bad call per se, but he's going to have to run 25 laps on this second stint of tires. And if you're Lopez, you can stretch that out and even that out a little bit more. So was Brown maybe feeling the heat a little bit and reacting to that? Maybe this is a calculated call. Maybe he'll be okay. But it's something that I think we have to keep in mind, because in theory, you're going to get a little bit better lap times out of splitting this a little bit closer to the middle. We're on lap 22, so we should see, I think, most of the field come in either this lap or the next lap. And we're starting to see that through the back of the field as well, Jacob. Well,
Logitech Gialtis is on their own strategy. They're 1 through 5 right now on the racetrack. Lopez Jr., Minter, Cozy Jr., DeMerchant, Doucette. Blake Bottoms is in 6th. Everybody else is on pit road or has visited pit road in the last lap. Daniel Falkingham is away. Joel Blewett is away. Jake Nichols is away. Those last 2, except for Blewett, just came down on the pit road. Actually, Blewett missed his box. Blewett
Oh my God! I knew it was coming, Jake. Come on.
He put the ball on the tee. What do you want me to do?
Oh man, I was hoping that wouldn't come, and it did. But thank
You're
you,
not
Jacob.
a father yet, are you? Hit. These are dad jokes.
God no.
Going to grandfather jokes here in a little bit if you're not careful. But
yeah, I bet the bad grandpa jokes at that. Shoot.
But you mentioned the Logitech guys. They're all on their own strategy. Are we really surprised? But let's see. I got Jordy Lopez keyed up. Is he coming in? Yes, he is.
He's
so
coming.
I think it looks like all of them. We'll see if Tucker, Cozy, and Seth all follow through. And no,
No, they
Tucker
stay
will
out.
stay out.
Tucker started to go wide. I thought for sure he was going to come in, but no. Him and Cozy both stay out on the racetrack. To Merchant, he will come onto pit road, as will do Set. Blake Bottoms, he's got pressure from Joey Brown. He'll just come onto pit road and let Brown go right by. So your former race leader has come around. He's now
Yeah, it's some
in fourth.
interesting strategy. It looks like here some of these guys in the
And
heat
he's got
split
the three
are
guys
taking
that
it,
haven't pitted yet
trying to
in
go
front of
to
him.
halfway. It looks like they made it,
Tucker Minter.
especially the Logitech
Yeah, well,
guys.
how about the two
They're
guys in front of him, because Jordy Lopez Jr. did pit. He comes out
well
miles
into
behind,
past halfway, so they should be able to make it on one stop here. This is definitely an interesting ccall here. To see if anyone else in the field can make it on one stop. We'll head back to the podium split and see how things are going over there with Kenneth and Rachel.
Scrum here, or whatever you Americans call it in American football. But Navarro, along with the 20 of Gary and the 2 of Brady, they were all over to them, and it goes. They kill some more cones here, but this was getting real busy.
I feel bad for the cones tonight, especially exit turn 1. I've seen a lot of drivers hit those cones, and I've hit those cones in CFIX too, so I'm not going to say that I'm innocent in this entire party, but they're getting scrappy around this top 5. Tyler Gary trying to hold on to what is P5 right now. Brady trying to take it all away. Navarro able to get past both of them, and maybe sooner than later, if they stay close to one another, Brandon McKissick may be invited to the party, and the same deal could be said for your former race leader and the pole sitter, Omar Diallo, in the 10. And I think while we're still under this green flag circumstance, we'll continue monitoring this battle as Brady, it looks like he's going to go around Tyler Gurry at some point in time, and we'll give the bumper entering the carousel, just letting him know, hey, I'm here, and I'm ready to get by you. It's a little sketchy there coming out of the final corner, turn 13. There may be a pass into turn 1. Brady will try. We'll duck back in now. We'll find the nose underneath Gary. So there may be the pass. Brady will hit up the curb and will slide up to the outside curb near the grass. So Brady makes the pass complete for 5th. And now here comes McKissick to the inside for a pass entering the keyhole. But I want to turn the attention to the schedule. Of course, we talked about it at the top of the show, Rachel, just how diverse the selection of tracks is. And let's say if you were a driver that likes the intermediates with these trucks, you were having a ball by the time you were entering round 1 and going through that entire season. But now I think this gives the opportunity for other drivers who have all-around skills, who are better at, let's say, the road courses, let's say the tricky triangles, let's say the Michigans of the world, the other tracks like IRP, a very short homegrown racetrack. It allows other drivers in this top 70 to really strut their stuff and their setups and with their teams, just based on the fact that there are so many different tracks and you can't settle into a rhythm because you're going to have to constantly change up your game every single race.
See, round 1 was about racing. It was about who can race in a series and get points. Round 2 is who can handle their truck. Who can actually drive the wheels off this thing, because we got a road course. We have a 3-corner road course next, Pocono, because it's not an oval, it's a 3-corner road course. So it will benefit the road drivers there. Because each corner is distinctly different. You can't set up for the track. You have to set up a particular corner, really, at Pocono and cope with the other 2. We have short tracks, we have dirt, we have such diversity. Indy as well. Again, a really diverse little track. So this will really benefit people who've got that
Jordy
car
Lopez
control.
Jr.
I don't mean, you know, they can run a 1.5 mile cookie cutter quick. Anyone can do that. It's,
Yeah, it's looking like we got about 4-second lead on each side here.
Watch the battle between Kevin King, AJ
Gap
Stravano.
here with
This is
efforts
for the
closing.
entrance into the top 10. And this is definitely showing how skilled they are at the road courses. Kevin King, not sure whether he was very confident in this track, Mid-Ohio, and posted about it on Twitter. Didn't really look like he was very happy to go to this track, but safe to say that 29, or rather the 5 machine, in the actual server. Does have a lot of speed as he goes to the inside here. Entrance through the S's on AJ Stravato, and King will make that pass complete, continuing to follow just behind Omar Diallo in the 10. A great look up the hill through the drivers entering one of the toughest sections here at this Mid-Ohio sports car course. Up the hill through turn 9, going through turn 10, and then of course flailing all the way to the carousel, turn 12 and turn 13. But I want to highlight, of course, we talked about some of the heavy hitters, the Parker Whites of the world, the Andrew Navarros, the Brandon McKissicks, drivers who have gotten multiple wins in the series. But then you're looking to drivers who are second and third right now. Christopher Pfeffer, Agno Phillip, the 4 and the 11. Going
James
into
Wenzel,
tonight's
27th, Matt Forkapa, 28th, Shane Williamson, 29th. And the last truck currently running on the racetrack is Ty Bass in the 30th position. 2 retirees from this race. Trevor Perry will finish 31st tonight, and rounding out the field, Jacob Anthony Burrows in 32nd.
That's a look at the field rundown here from Mid-Ohio. We're past the halfway point. The gap 4 seconds for your race lead. Let's turn back now to the battle for 10th. Christopher Hill, Daniel Smallwood.
This just continues to be really, really good stuff across the board. Not really any other way to slice it, but they've been so even, and I think it's so tough, especially if you're in Smallwood's position where maybe you have the pace, but it's not much pace. And if you're Hill, can you force Smallwood to run so hard behind you that he burns off his tires and in turn kills his own ability to make the pass? That, I think, is what you're hoping for if you're Christopher Hill. You've got a solid run going anyway. Top 10 sitting in the wings, you can pull it off, but that's the thing I think you need to pay attention to. And let's also not forget there's a little group behind them that's starting to bunch up. Timmy Holmes, Ryan Doucette, and Seth Demercher from 13th to 15th beginning to close together as well.
Half a second on that last lap. Phillip, he's just about a second adrift back there from Pfeffer. And then Brady, he's got about 3 or 4 back from them. So we've really separated the front end of the race out. And it's been cleaner than I thought, because I think these guys have been struggling with these trucks. I don't think this has been an easy race for them.
It definitely hasn't. We've seen a lot of these guys battle for grip, but we've seen a limit of mistakes, so especially going off course, hitting the gravel. A lot of the mistakes really have happened on track. I think the only thing that stood out was Omar Diallo's spin in turn 9. Other than that, most of the field has kept it clean, and it's been a remarkable job. As you take a look on board with Diallo, who is trying to find his way back. An easy pass entrance, turn 4. That's underneath Tyler Gary for 7th. So Diallo will move up there, and he will try to catch up to the next truck in line. That is Brandon McKissick in the 12. And you were watching the battle a little bit earlier for behind. Just outside of the top 10, Delaney Eberhardt going at it through the S's. Delaney on the inside, of course, a 17-year-old who's from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, one of the workers on the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series side of things. I believe he works for Brian LaPrad's crew behind the wheel of the 88. LaPrade trying to have a great debut season in 2022, and Eberhardt, our former Podium 500 champion, trying to get underneath him and made a dashing move on the inside. They both got loose, but Delaney was able to hold on. A great battle just outside the top 10 as Eberhardt will give the bumper, move to the inside, but he naps the grass just a bit. Delaney will hold through.
Yeah, that got a little lively for a second, but he does make it through safely somewhat here. But these guys definitely putting it on towards the bottom of the top 10 here, because they don't forget every point matters here. And I'm quite surprised we've got 6 guys not actually showing for this race. Maybe they hate road courses, or maybe they've got commitments to other things. But first race of round 2, I just tried to make sure I was here. This is important territory.
You know what? I think it's fine if you miss the race, you don't like road courses. We've seen a lot of guys do that where they have a certain track, Bristol Dirt could be one of those where we see drivers not go there at all because they understand, hey, I don't like road courses, and if I want to have a drop week in the points, yeah, I'd rather have it be a track that I know I'm not going to do good at, or a track that I'm not very confident in my pace in, or a track that I feel like I'm going to wreck at, instead of just another track where maybe I could just do decent and not have the flashiest race, but still do relatively well. As we continue monitoring that battle between Eberhardt and Delaney, got very scrappy there out of turn 13, and he is still holding on. Here's a look from Tyler Gary's number 20 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. We mentioned Kevin King getting around him in the 5 for P8, so Gary is trying to attack back here. AJ Stravato, the next truck in line, although there's some considerable distance between Gary and Stravato, so we shouldn't expect a battle there unless one of them makes a mistake or if Stravato just wraps a rocket to the back end of his truck and starts zooming past these two. But I know that's probably not going to happen at all, Rachel. But maybe these road courses, very interesting, and, you know, in a way, Mid-Ohio, I think it's just an interesting challenge, unique only because of the fact that the real-life trucks don't go here until this year. They've never been here until this year. They have to also deal with the new challenges, deal with this new type of track, deal with how this truck handles this type of road course that has usually been known for a lot of sports car racing and most notably IndyCar racing that had their race here just this past weekend. You have to adjust to a new environment, a new truck, a new track, a new everything, basically. And so, you know, I don't blame these drivers having some problems or at least trying to get themselves in a rhythm at a track that not only demands a lot out of them, but one that...
The Bar Visual FTF Cup Series from the new Atlanta Motor Speedway. So Sunday, we join you 8 o'clock from Pocono for the Pennsylvania 500 for the Winstel Gen 4 Challenge on... Oh, holy cow, that's next week already. Yeah, Tuesday, July 12th is the qualifying for the World 600. Wednesday, we have the Esports Racing League over on the ERL Racing Twitch channel from Kansas in the Radicals. Thursday, we're back with the World 600 that Blake McCandless is putting on. It's going to be a lot of fun Tuesday and Thursday night since there's no eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series next Thursday. Slap that right in there. And then we are back 2 weeks from tonight from my home track, Pocono. It's going to be a lot of fun. We got a lot of Pocono coming up here on the channel. 2 weeks, 9 o'clock Eastern, July 21st. You can see that all and more right here on FTF.GG.
Triangles and trees and eagles, oh my.
Sound a little excited there, Jacob.
I mean, we'll see what happens at Pocono. it typically isn't known for its racing, but you know, we'll kind of see what happens.
Poco, no, you mean Poco, yes, duh.
Oh man.
I mean, you know, I was surprised that when we come back with the Bar Visual FTF Cup Series in 2 weeks, that we're actually going to Pocono. I thought for sure that the admins there would have said, yeah, no, we're not going to that racetrack. Pleasantly surprised that they are going to Pocono in a couple of weeks' time.
They do pride themselves on following the Cup schedule as closely as possible. So that race is for you, Jacob. Consider that a favor for the Jacob Hitz camp for that race.
Brendan John Kohler is under pressure. Timmy Holmes is on his back bumper. Then he's got Doucette and DeMerchant right behind him, coming around through turn 13. As I was going to make an under pressure joke, but I'll let it slide here.
Anyone gonna bow under the pressure, or are they gonna stand strong? Right? There we go.
Goodness.
But my last two were halfway decent.
Oh no!
Okay, the not so decent entry to the corner there though for Seth DeMerchant and Timmy Holmes sees them lose positions to Ryan Doucette, to Blake Bottoms, and to Seth DeMerchant. And Daniel Nanny's going to get to the inside of DeMerchant and get him, I believe, on the run down to turn 4 as Timmy Holmes is back to 17th. So they were 13th and 15th. They're now 16th and 17th after that one slip in the keyhole.
The blind following the blind. Holmes locked him up. Just drove it in way too deep, and Seth DeMerchant said, you know what, I like it so much, I'll do it too. DeMerchant gets a spot out of it, technically, since he passes Holmes, but he loses a lot of time to his teammate. As battling with Daniel Nanny right here.
They're still side by side. Side by side since the exit. Down the back straight, DeMerchant trying to make this pass work. Nanny's providing a great fight here. There's contact, and Nanny goes around.
Nanny around off course. That's going to cost him numerous spots. He backs it up into the tire barriers. He's at least in the grass and not in the gravel. He'll get it rolling. He'll hemorrhage numerous spots and come back onto the race course in 22nd.
Nanny was going to look at 16th. He's back 6 spots. That's a really tough break for him. Really hard racing there coming up to the final corner of the racetrack, and you figured with the way they were running side by side, Jacob, somebody was going to have to give and would either be forced or make the move as Nanny almost loses control of the car there. Tough break for Nanny, who now has to work his way back into the top 20.
We've had a clean race other than the front straightaway on the first lap. We've been clean otherwise. We're starting to split at the seams here, inside 15 to go. How about this battle for 5th? Casey Tucker and Michael Cozy Jr. headed to 6.
Casey Tucker is probably going to be able to paint all of these Logitech trucks in his sleep tonight, as much as he's seen them and been around them. But Cozy providing the pressure right now, looking to bring himself into the top 5 to join his teammate Jordy Lopez and Tucker Minter. But
they both lost a significant amount of time, or rather Diallo lost a lot of time. He could have theoretically been in the race lead had he not made the mistake, but Diallo just trying to pick up the pieces, and this could be a good way of doing so. Catching up to the rear end of Brandon McKissick, that's Andrew Navarro, the first truck in that shot. Of course, they've got a good gap to Kenny Brady, who has opened things up in P4, but this could be a 2-for-1 opportunity for the former pole sitter here tonight. And Diallo will try to exit turn 1 with as much momentum as possible, but the distance maybe a little bit too much to cover in just a short amount of time. Never mind, we'll close all the way to the rear end of Brandon McKissick, entering the keyhole. We'll see if we can get an exit here that'll last them through to turn 4 and maybe make a move through the S's, maybe not. We'll just have to see. These 3 trucks all nose to tail, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Of course, if you're watching tonight's coverage here on Podium Esports for our odd split of round number 2, the eNASCAR Road to Pro Qualifying iRacing Series, we'll also remind you that the even split coverage is over on FTF_GG on Twitch. Of course, Jacob hits James Pike on the coverage for that. Zach Johnson, the producer behind all of the shots there. And of course, our red zone style coverage, if you could call it, a dual split coverage on Podium 2, so you can go to twitch.tv/Podium2 and get your dual fix between our race right now in the final stretch and of course our split number 2, which should have a lot of big names in it, especially a lot of the Logitech Gialtis esports trucks that we saw dominate the first half and basically the entirety of round 1. The Tucker Minters, the Seth the Merchants, the Jordy Lopez Juniors of the world, all of them not in this odd split. They should be in that even split, so you can watch those names over there on FTF_GG, while also keeping tabs with our battle here as we continue to watch Parker White lead the field by 6.2 seconds. And now approaching some lap traffic. That is Dustin Johnson, who may be the second truck to go a lap down. He will be in the same group as Brian Blackford. He is 30th, and there's a look at Parker coming out of the keyhole turn 2.
Yes, it is, and he's got to keep himself going here.
His jokes in our chat going right now, so James is not letting up on the dad jokes right now. But great run by Chris, also for Daniel. So both of these guys having a very solid run on the road course tonight. And Chris, if he can hang on to this thing, will get himself a nice top 10 moving into the next round of Pocono.
Well, I've got another one for you. Ty Bass, he's the guy we're talking about. He's parked it. He's gone fishing.
Oh my goodness! I can't take much more of this, guys. I haven't
personally, as a fish, I feel personally attacked.
I haven't done one of these broadcasts in quite some time, and I don't feel welcome back right now with all these jokes just flying around.
Well, you're the butler here, Sean. You should be able to chop these jokes up, right?
Oh my goodness! I would hope so. Goodness gracious!
All right. Well,
we've reached our boiling point, I think, with these things.
Just gotta saute it and sear it, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh my. Yeah. Where do we go from here?
In the race as we approach our final 10 laps here from the virtual Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. And we again turn our attention. Navarro, McKissick, Diallo, who's going to strike first. It looks like Diallo has fallen back. He hasn't really gained enough time to get around McKissick or Navarro, so that tells me, Rachel, that Diallo has been spending this entire run trying to get back in the game for at least the top 5 or the top 3, and he may have burned his stuff up just a little bit too early. Now he's starting to even out with these guys in the top 5, top 6.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing too. I think he has tried to use it all. He was slowing down towards the end of the first run, don't forget, and he pushed a bit too hard and it bit him, which is unfortunate, because he is underselling him to say he was just a pole sitter. He led the first half of this race, and it was the lap after second place Parker White pitted, which I think he was pushing to try and get a best the time he could for an in-lap, when he got a small mistake that so many of us could make easily. But Omar Diallo did a fantastic job so far here, and I'd love to see him in the top 5 in this thing, not to see what he can do. But he's got some guys that are still going to be pretty tough to work with, like McKissick and Navarro.
And Navarro had a loose moment going into turn 5, so here comes McKissick there closing in the gap. So maybe if Navarro continues to keep these mistakes up, that means McKissick will have an easy entrant into the top 5. If you take a look on board with the 16, Navarro starting to struggle just a little bit with those rear tires, and you can tell off of the final corner of turn 13, not as much grip, not as much bite coming out of the corner, and McKissick will have a solid look at the rear bumper going into turn 1 and may set things up for this move into turn 2 and one of the hardest braking zones in this entire race of this racetrack. That keyhole and that hairpin as Omar Diallo tries to stay behind, and they're actually catching up significantly a little bit to Kenny Brady. So there may be more of a battle here than we're looking at so far at this point. Navarro, of course, a winner at the Dover Motor Speedway earlier in the campaign. McKissick has won a couple of races in his Road to Pro career. In round number 1 this year, he had 2 wins to his credit. In race number 4, race number 5, he was at one point the points leader out of the entirety of basically everybody before they cut it down to the top 70. So an impressive group of drivers right now as we'll continue to watch McKissick, and we'll take a look back at Parker White, your race leader, trying to get around Dustin Johnson. This is coming out of turn 9, upward toward the hill, turn 10. And then the final sector of the track, the carousel, it's going to get very tight. Parker's going to find some space, and we'll dive to the inside on the carousel. A solid pass that should get him clear out of the carousel. Actually, no. So he'll stay side by side. Now we'll clear finally out of turn 13, so maybe more work than Parker was anticipating there, but finally gets around our second lap down truck of the race.
Yeah, the amount of trucks that have gone laps down has surprised me. It's been less than I thought. It's been technical issues and mistakes, really, that put people there rather than pace, which is great to see, of course. But this race still absolutely hot towards the end of this thing. We are looking at, what, 9 to go at this point? Just under that. And these guys are still at this thing. And I gotta say, Pfeffer has been one of the ones that's impressed me. He's really worked hard here. And second place is going to be one he's earned with every penny.
These guys have definitely worked hard over the course of this race, no doubt about it. Of course, the C-Fixed race, I know C Open is way longer, not entirely sure how many laps are in that part of the iRacing official sessions, but C-Fix is roughly half this, 26 laps, and we're already plus 11 on that board after the 26 that you would run in C-Fix. And I remember running those 2 races, and I really had to work, and by the time I was done, by the time I reached the checkered flag, I was sweating a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. I put a lot of work into trying to keep that truck alive and minimize the mistakes, and just trying to keep the mental acuity up as high as possible as these guys, Navarro, McKissick, and Diallo, continue to go at it. Navarro hasn't cracked just yet. McKissick, though, is trying to make sure he can destroy that concrete wall of defense that's breaking him outside of the top 5, and will keep tabs if McKissick tries any daring moves. He has yet to pull any moves up his sleeve. Maybe he'll try a crossover. Maybe he'll take some notes from Allen Iverson. Who knows? But right now, McKissick not doing anything to show for, at least to make a pass on Navarro. He's just waiting for it.
He only had, the lead was under a second that he had built over Jordi Lopez, and when they came out in the pit cycles, all were said and done, he had a over 5-second lead on Jordi Lopez. So that just goes to show the importance of executing perfectly on pit road, and Joey right now proves that is the difference in this race. Jordi did a good job of cutting it down. He's still cutting it down a little bit. It's about 3.3 seconds now, but I just don't know if he's going to have enough time to get to the bumper and pass Joey with the way these tires are even out, as Pike said earlier. But Jacob, this pending a catastrophic event, Joey's got some clear sailing right now, but we got a long way to go still.
How about a battle outside the top 20? Daniel Nanny, Justin Knobloch, Blewett. Oh man, I see people locking up as there goes Nanny wide. That's going to open the door for Knobloch. Some contact coming through the corner. That's going to open up the door for Blewett, and he blows by both of them.
Beautiful work for Joel Blewett there to take advantage of the situation, and sometimes that's all you really need to do. There's so much
there's some beef
that you could just sort of let it happen, and yeah, a little bit of contact further back too, Jacob.
Oh, he got run over going into the corner, so he returned the favor on exit by Doran Knobloch, and it let Blewett by both of them.
Justin Malillo telling you, Jacob, I clapped out loud at that one.
That's Williamson in the same corner that's gone off. He just overshot it. But he's just parked it over there. Taking a nap. There's not going to be a caution because he's not on the racing surface. And now he tows it back to pit road. 7 laps to go here from mid-Ohio. Joey Brown is your race leader. We will step aside. We're back right after this here on FTF.GG.
Up around Dustin Johnson, the lap truck. He's going to have another lap truck just up ahead that will go 1 lap down. That is Joseph Galata in the 25. But apart from that, Rachel, Parker White has been excellent so far, mistake-free. And if he stays like this, it'll be his 3rd win in this Road to Pro calendar if you count round 1. An unbelievably stellar performance for the 1 truck so far.
It really has been, and he has worked so hard here. And this isn't a case that he got a win that, or is looking for the win, I should say, that should have been Diallo's. He was keeping him honest the entire time. It's just Diallo made the mistake first. That's racing. Both those guys were phenomenally fast here, and it's just shown how much, because often running on your own is harder. So White has been running on his own for half this race now. Running with somebody else, running someone else's pace is a lot easier, it's a lot less stressful. Solo running this thing out front, it can be a lot on somebody, and he's held it up there, so it's been impressive.
And for White, going into this round 2 schedule, he entered P5 on the points chart for the top 70. So obviously going into this round, there was no question that he was going to enter the top 70. And at least for now, it looks like if he can keep his place and win this race and maybe get some better performances and maybe win more races or just have solid finishes, uneventful races for the rest of the schedule, he should be in a comfortable position to make it to the top 20. And that'll be dangerous when we come November time because the Contender Series will start around then. And Parker White, along with the rest of the 19, if he can qualify for it, will have to switch to the Xfinity Series cars. And for North Force Racing, I think they are welcoming this challenge. North Force Racing has been a part of a lot of eNASCAR, Coca-Cola iRacing Series drivers' career. You think about Derek Justice, I believe, is also part of North Force Racing. A lot of talented sim races, and Parker White being one of the newer entrants into that NFR group is certainly proving his talent right now as he goes around the number 25 of Galata without any pressure whatsoever. So a complete opposite scenario to what happened with Dustin Johnson in that same part of the racetrack. And White looking to pull away, the main native looking for his 3rd win overall, his 1st in round number 2 of this Road to Pro qualifying iRacing Series race.
That gap has stayed consistent between him and Jordan Lopez Jr. About 3.2, 3.3 seconds right now is the margin. And the closest battle on the racetrack is for 7th. Daniel Botafuco, nope, how about 8th? Daniel Botafuco in the 13, shown as the 7 in sim. Jake Nichols in 9th on his back bumper.
I'll put it this way. If we put together an album of Jacob counting everything, I think that would be a smash hits.
Yep.
Oh, man.
As soon as he put that out there, I knew where he was going.
He was thinking of that the whole break.
Yep.
At some point, at some time, the driver in front is going to make a mistake. They're going to overshoot. They're going to mess up a corner. They're going to light up the rear tires like we've seen Navarro do a couple of times tonight, especially up this hill through the S's, turn 5, turn 6, turn 7, turn 8 to turn 9. So McKissick is there, and in most cases that is good enough for McKissick. As long as he can stay there, he can push Navarro far past his limits in the final 4 or so laps, and that could be what McKissick needs. There's a loose moment out of Navarro, and there's a nose inside for a moment, but he tucks back going into turn 10, this very fast left-hander before you enter downhill to the carousel in turn 13. But McKissick is trying to set this up, and he'll dive it a little bit deep into the carousel, arc it out wide before diving down low to turn 13 and looking for turn 1 as a pass opportunity, but now not close enough again. So Navarro just evening out.
Forward 1.5 miles. We only get Texas in this portion of the schedule, but it does normalize more from here.
Jelly D16 writes in chat, I demand a refund of all the nickels that y'all paid Pike after that one.
Ooh.
Since it got nickels there in P9.
Yeah, I got it.
That's
yeah.
a good one.
I'll give that man some California love.
Goodness gracious. This.
Oh, my.
See?
In all my days of calling iRacing races, this has been by far the cringiest one.
Just wait
to play some
just
defense.
wait till
Diallo
next
diving deep into turn 4. Maybe we'll try to pinch it to turn 5. And cannot do it, so he'll stay behind these two. McKissick on the rear bumper of Navarro. All three of these trucks nose to tail. We're just waiting for the right time to show up where somebody's going to make a pass. But also at the same time, Rachel, I feel like they don't want to jump the gun too early, and maybe they're waiting too late as we're approaching the final 3 laps. But especially in that part of the track, the mid-sector, turn 5 through turn 9, it's so narrow, and you're not in a favorable position to make a pass. So I feel like they're trying to set up for certain corners. It's just that when they get to that point, when they build that momentum, it gets chopped off at the last moment, and they can't do anything about it. That's really what they're struggling with, I believe.
Yeah, but let's not forget, this is the track. You can pass, but there are certain styles of passing where you want to make sure they can't get back to you before the race ends. And they're very much possible, especially on a road course, if not more possible on a road course. So if you're going to have to use one of those techniques, make sure there aren't enough laps left for them to have another go. McKissick looks like he's setting up for one of those.
Well, you know the saying, if you can dish it out, you have to be able to take it. And I think that's what they're worried about, trying to take a pass back on them in the last
Closing in on a few laps to go here.
Saying, all right, I'm on my way. McKissick almost about hit the rear end bumper of Andrew Navarro going up the hill into the keyhole. We'll ride
Seems
on
like in
board
both
with your
splits,
pole sitter tonight.
the leader's
And
pretty
back
much
on the
got
majority
this
of
in
the lap.
hand unless he
Diallo,
has
the Q send in turn 4. That's enough to
an
make
issue.
McKissick scared for a moment. Side by side through turn 5. Another hit to the rear end to McKissick. Diallo trying to bully his way through, but again, it does not work.
It doesn't, yeah, but it's definitely got his attention, I think. McKissick's no longer looking at Navarro as the victim here on the track and realizing he is now most likely the victim. But we also have Kevin King coming up behind these guys as well, so that's one to keep an eye on. But big moves, by the way, up 12 spots from where he started in 24th. Christian Pedersen, huge for him.
I was about to say, Kevin King is looking at this battle and saying, they're getting a little bit dirty, but here I go. I'll try to get myself through. I've saved my tires in this run, so why not get some extra points? And maybe he'll also bring another driver behind him. That is AJ Stravato, Daniel Eberhardt.
See this group go after it. This is the best battle that really has been the best battle pack all night long. Anywhere where Smallwood and Hill have been in, and Blake Bottoms to Ryan Doucette, all have just been no breathing room the whole night. Really, really fun to watch, though. And now as we get towards the end of this race, will somebody try something here in particular next time by? This and the run down to turn 4 coming down the bottom of the hill are the 2 best passing zones on this racetrack, and you have to believe closest they've been, we might see something. And right on cue, there goes Ryan Doucette to the inside of Blake Bottoms.
And Bottoms looked like he clipped the grass a little bit on the exit of the corner, as you were mentioning it, Pike. So important to get a great run off of the keyhole, and just a little bit of a blip for Bottoms may cost him the spot. But Jacob, he's fighting off that charge by Ryan Doucette very well. He might hold him off, and I think he's going to keep the spot out of all this, but technical part of the track is going to be the key here.
Stuck on the outside through 6, gets his foot on the throttle. White flag in the win for Joey Brown. One more lap to go. Back to this battle for 12th. Bottoms holds on.
But Parker White comes out of turn 13 and will reach the white flag here from Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course in Lexington, Ohio. And in the first part of this race, it looked like he was waiting patiently to make the move on Omar Diallo. Finally got by pit strategy in the mid portion of this race, and ever since he took the net race lead with Christian Peterson going down pit road, Parker White getting by on the front straightaway, it has been all this.
It's very easy to loop yourself around if you've got a high torque vehicle like these trucks.
Absolutely, and we were talking about it earlier, that straightaway speed's so important to set up passes, as we just saw right there with Bottoms and Doucette there. You give up a little bit of speed on these straightaways, it is not going to pan out well for your attempt to move forward. But right now, Jacob, Joey Brown, moving towards the last half of this racetrack, and he has all clear speedway ahead of him.
He's led just about every single lap tonight. Remember, he won the last race of round 1 at Charlotte. We covered that race. I thought he was out. That's what I believed. I was lied to. He made it, and now here he comes through the carousel. winner of the last race in the last round. He wins the first race this time.
Came into
Joey
2022
Brown
in his first
Mid-Ohio.
full-time Road to Pro season, and in his first start Road to Pro on a road course, Parker White gets his first road course racing win at a turn 13. Give the W to Parker White, winner in the first race of round 2 in the eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series.
Really impressively done here tonight by those guys, and just a fantastic run. Honestly, that was
off of each
great.
And to the outside goes Blake Bottoms, who's turned at the line. But Blake Bottoms hung on over Daniel.
A beautiful race to the finish, and we were watching the group between 5th through 7th. Navarro, McKissick, and Diallo will stay where they were for basically that entire run. No moves were made there. They got a little bit physical. I think the only real gain was Eberhard getting around Stravato, as here's another look at a battle further through on behind the field. That is Raja Karuth going at it with, I believe that is Ethan Lane, or rather Connor Horn, right in front of him. So they're going at it for the spot. This is 26 on the racetrack. Final corner entering the carousel. They both overshoot. Karuth slides. Inside he'll go, side by side to turn 13, but it will not be enough. Karuth almost spins the truck out, and Connor Horn is good enough there to defend for 26. A solid battle between the two, but the attention will turn back to the one of Parker White, who comes out of turn 9. There's one of the trucks congratulating him. That is Agnell Phillip, who comes home in 3rd. A beautiful run for Phillip at the end of this race. Got to give a lot of credit to the driver of the 11. Same deal for Pfeffer in the 4 truck, who had a standout performance tonight. And Parker White, out of turn 9, turn 10, burns it down from Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, amazingly done by White here tonight. He deserves to burn that thing all up to the ground, as this is a good start to round 2. If this is as exciting as what we had in this race for the rest of the season, oh wow, that's one way to celebrate, I guess. Take it for a flip. And back on his wheels, just how you want it to be. Congratulations from the 02 there. No, 20, sorry.
And all right, guys, it's been great having you here tonight. Hope you enjoyed the first ever Red Zone coverage here on Podium 2. Probably come up with a better name of that. But I hope you enjoyed the socials. We worked through some of the technical difficulties, and we'll keep growing this thing. We'll keep getting better and better and better. As you see, Podium running through the final results there. I'm Gary Sexton. We're going to be heading out. So we'll catch you later.